Welcome to Bloody Good Horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 343 of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be taking a trip to Baghoul School because we're here to review Sinister 2. First up, joining me tonight, the man with the beard that alone got him on the sex offender registry list. First time in a while here on the show, his name is Andy.
It's been so long.
Remember
since
Andy,
I've had that.
Only good touch here on Bloody Good Horror. I just want you to remember that tonight.
It looks like a strap-on beard, like you bought it at Halloween.
Like a Santa beard they forgot to dye white.
Yeah, well,
Also,
no,
this
is all going to Locks for Life, just so you know.
Oh, that's great. Some kid will have a cool pube wig.
Right. Well, I supply merkins to all manner of the civilization.
Next up on the show, speaking of merkins, he makes bloodygoodhorror.com with his magic little hands. His name is Mark.
I don't
even care if it's relevant anymore, Mark. He said
Sure.
merkins. Next
You
up,
could have called me Merkin Newell.
Next up, from Indiana, that's in the middle of the country in case you weren't sure. He writes horror fiction. He is a host of multiple podcasts. His name is Casey.
Hi.
Now with light on him, so you can actually see him in our video here.
And my bald spot.
And we're cool. Yeah, let's not talk about hairlines, all right? Last up here on the show tonight, probably the best hairline of anyone in this video chat. Joining us once again, her name is Sophie.
Hello.
Welcome back, Sophie.
It's good to be back.
No Schnars or Joe tonight because they are loosers. That's about all there is to it. They're off being losers somewhere. We're here to review Sinister 2. Hashtag Baghoul School. It's literally Baghoul School because we see how he teaches the children to be Baghoul.
Yes.
But we'll get to that in a little bit.
Step one, get a finely tailored suit.
Yeah.
He's
Mark.
got a lot of TAs, and they're not all great.
Mark.
Yeah.
We are streaming live on the internet right now.
Yes, we are.
Somebody would like to see that. How can they do that?
Oh my God. Well, if you haven't
I'm not
already,
sure if you're prepared to answer this question, so we'll find out.
I am. I totally am. I am like
Taking
a
you to
Schnars in
Baghoul
training.
School.
And also hi to the 4 people that are watching right now.
Nice.
Thank you for supporting us on Patreon, which if you haven't been listening for the past couple weeks or been on our website or any of our social media, we're hammering it. Patreon is a website that you can use to support us. There's different levels of monthly donation that you can do that get you access to different things. So for the $1 a month level, you will get the video version of the show, which we're now doing every week. You'll get that right after we record it or shortly after we record it. If you come in at the $3 or higher level, you'll have access to the live stream while we're recording it. So there's 4 people that are watching us right now, and we just started doing that last week.
Sexual.
For the $6 and up level, you get access to the entire catalog of our back episodes up until episode 10, or back until episode 10. And then for $10 a month, you also get episodes 1 through 10, which we're so embarrassed about. We're willing to make you pay $4 more a month to get access to.
You also get all future merch that Bloody Good Horror releases sent to you.
So we
including
should mention
Merkins by Andy.
Merkins by Andy. Brandon Merkins. Maybe we'll get some
with
BGH
a leather
pasties and Merkins.
A little keepsake pouch.
Yeah.
I mean,
Each
you gotta
one comes
keep
with a leather tag. I'll brand it myself.
right. I mean, you got to keep your Merkin in something.
But we should mention, as of this recording, we've obliterated our first 3 milestones, which is so awesome, and thank you so much. That means that there's going to be a new monthly video show in the works. Also, we are working with an awesome artist who I will not say who it is yet, but we're well on our way to designing some new T-shirts, coasters, stickers. That's underway. I am now also on the hook to finish developing our app, which I'm not totally ready to talk about yet, but it's pretty far along in the sort of prototyping stages, so be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, I got on it the other day on the web version of it and started sending Mark a bunch of unsolicited feedback. He was pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
While he was trying to do work at his work.
It's unsolicited feedback from Eric.
Yeah.
No, but it's awesome. We're doing so much exciting shit. We're also going to be anyone's wondering where all this money is going, we're going to be doing new merch stuff. We're working on new shows. We also announced this week that CC's lit podcast, Something Red, is going to be available for our Patreon patrons. The first 3 episodes, I've confirmed with John, the first 3 episodes are going to be on the free BGH feed, and then those will be available on the other side of Patreon for just $1 a month. And yeah, so it's pretty exciting times around here. We've got a ton of shit going on.
I was gonna say we don't have to give all details, but you just did, so I think that's it.
Yeah, no, we've been pretty clear. We've been pretty clear about what the details are.
Patreon.com. Whoa, I just dropped every image into the video at once. Did not mean to do that. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror to check that out. We also just generally have a lot of stuff going on at bloodygoodhorror these days.com. You want to just go through that quick and then we'll move on?
Sure. So Sophie is here, so we can lean on her a little bit to talk about this, but one of our reviewers, Ben, has been reviewing the Hellraiser franchise in order. He just reviewed Hellraiser 3. And then after those reviews, I like to call them the BGH Kids Club or BGH
no, it's the new class. Yeah, it's the
I
new
can
class.
call them whatever I want to.
No.
I do. And so they've been live tweeting those movies after Ben's been posting his reviews. So Sophie, when are you going to be doing those? You're going to be doing those later tonight? Or
yeah, later tonight we're doing the 3rd Hellraiser movie. We've been trying to aim for 8:30 Eastern on Sunday nights, and you can watch with us and live tweet.
Oh my
this
God.
one I'm really excited for because I know the costume designer for Hellraiser 3.
Nice.
It was also the costume designer for Candyman, and he is friends with my stepmom and made her wedding dress when she married my dad.
Does he still do costume design?
Does it resemble
yeah,
Candyman?
but not for big movies anymore. He's getting older.
But Hellraiser 3 didn't ruin his career, though. Just so we're...
No, he did Candyman
Good.
right after Hellraiser 3.
Good.
So that kind of like...
That was...
Did your stepmom's dress have hooks and beads?
No, it was
hooks and bees.
pretty safe.
I was reading an article the other day from the director of Candyman, Bernard Rose, and he was talking about how his experience on Candyman basically ruined him on directing, and he's only directed like a couple of movies since then. That was just, he specifically didn't want to do anything like Hollywood-y or anything. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, there you go. So they've been doing that every week with the series, and also I don't know if we've mentioned this on the show, but Sophie posted an excellent Lost Boys themed drinking game a little while ago, and if she sticks with it, she's going to be posting once a month, which I'm so excited about. So if you like getting drunk and watching old classic movies, Sophie's got your back. It's pretty funny, so you should check that out. We post new reviews every day. We're always coming up with new and cool shit. We really I know that, if you are a newer listener or a newer fan, you're just used to all of this shit just being on the website all the time. But we've really been on a pretty awesome clip over the past couple of months, and we're going to continue to do that because we have a ton of momentum going from the Patreon stuff. We're going to be at Horror Hound.
Yes,
Indy,
that's also important.
Is
Andy going to be at Horror Hound weekend?
That I will.
Nice.
Yes. So everybody but John is going to be there.
Are you even bothering to bring clothes?
I'll bring like a swimsuit, and then we'll see if it gets used.
Okay. Right.
It's
worth reminding listeners that the first time we all met Andy in person, we got to the hotel and I saw his ass within 35 seconds.
If you want to know how to find Andy at Horror Hound, it's going to be the guy in one of those green bodysuits with just a hole for his beard cut out.
That's actually going to be the new video segment for BGH. You guys are just going to add any kind of landscapes to my body while I'm running around Horror Hound.
Great.
Manscapes,
Perfect.
if you will.
Right.
Yeah,
Perfect.
but it's going to be awesome. We're going to be there. And then through September and October, we're going to have tons of new shit for you guys and fun stuff to announce. So it's
Halloween's coming up. It's right around the corner.
Spooky season.
I know this because I watched a trailer today for Paranormal Activity, The Ghost Dimension.
Speaking of trailers, did you guys get the Green Inferno trailer?
Yeah.
Yes.
I wanted to talk briefly about trailers before we get into Sinister.
Here's your transition, brother. Go for it.
The Green Inferno, directed by Eli Roth. I believe directed. I know it was at least produced.
Yep.
That seemed to be one of his
Confirmed.
baby children. I don't know what to think of this movie because mainstream critics are keeping a lot of praise on it. They had a lot of quotes in this trailer I saw, but I'm seeing a lot of random people reviews on the internet who are like, yeah, it's terrible, and they just don't like it. So I have no idea what to expect, but the trailer looks pretty interesting.
That sounds like the internet.
Although I'll be honest, it kind of looks like he's making the world's greatest tribute song for Cannibal Holocaust. So, you know, it's hard to tell. Did anyone else get the Green Inferno trailer?
Yeah, I mean, like the only thing about it that rubbed me the wrong way is this was the third trailer in a row that leads with like a low key, very slow, creepy version of a pop song. And so I was kind of like, I'm a little bit done with
I didn't
this.
even
I'm
notice
excited.
it. What was the song?
Beautiful Dreamer.
Right now. Sorry, wrong movie.
Dreamer.
I like it. No, it's a Beautiful Dreamer.
Okay. I don't know. That
Yeah, I mean, I'm just excited to see it. I'm excited that there's a movie.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
that.
there's at least 3 or 4 like horror movies coming out between September and October, which I feel like is better than it's been in years. You know what I mean?
Is that going to actually go theatrical?
I mean, I was in a theater.
I think so,
looking
yeah.
at it, so.
Yeah, I don't know for sure, but I thought Universal was handling it.
I mean, it's weird because it's definitely been shelved for a while. So yeah, it is certainly kind of weird that it's popped back up. But watching the trailer, of course they should put it out. It seems like something that would get a lot of word of mouth in theaters, a lot of buzz, and maybe, you know, do some work.
Oh yeah, and I take that back. I don't think it's Universal. I think it's Blumhouse Tilt. So that other like offshoot of Blumhouse, I think it is handling.
And wasn't
Are they
this
just
movie
adding
today?
Random words on the end of Blumhouse now. I don't really know.
Blumhouse Requiem. Wasn't this today? Wasn't this a Blumhouse thing today we reviewed?
This is, yes.
Yeah.
And wasn't the last one we like what?
Most of the things we've done that are live this summer.
These guys are secretly taking over the world here. I got another trailer for M. Night Shyamalan Child Oven
Oh my
Cooker.
god, I'm so sick of his fucking face.
I'm tired of that trailer.
Well, it's the
every
same
time.
trailer, and I'm just looking away at this point because I'm like, well, now I just know every scare in the movie by heart because I've been seeing that trailer for months. I feel like.
Yeah.
I saw one.
Do you want to get in the oven and clean it?
Did anyone else get anything else? Because I can look quick, but I wrote another one down that I saw that I had not seen before.
I got the Zoolander 2 teaser.
That was not it. Hold on.
I was pretty excited.
Tell us about the Zoolander 2 teaser.
It was just like animated. It looked like the inside of a brain, and there was a voice kind of like Stephen Hawking talking in the background. And I leaned over to my stepmom and I was like, is this a trailer for a movie? And then it pulls out of the brain and it's Derek Zoolander. And he's making faces and he's confused about the way the name of the movie is written. It was pretty funny.
I got 2 things. The Point Break trailer.
Oh, I did not get that.
Which was, I don't know. I've heard people talking shit about it, but it looks kind of amazing. Andy, you're on mute, buddy.
Oh, no. It looks like Robin Hood.
Nope, it looks
It
amazing.
just looks like a cheesy version of Extreme Sports Robin Hood. No, thank you.
As opposed to the first Point Break?
Oh yeah, the first Point Break's
But Andy,
great.
they have
That's
to
a classic.
they have to live their lives extremely close to the edge in order to feel alive. So
Oh my God.
they're gonna liberate the gold. I don't understand what's wrong with
Yeah,
that.
I got
that wasn't
radical, Andy.
what
Get
I really
radical.
wanted to talk about though, quick, and then we'll get into Sinister 2, is Victor Frankenstein, starring Professor X and Harry Potter.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah, I'm
Daniel
actually.
Radcliffe, man.
Is this so? Wait, is this and Dracula Untold? Like, is this all that same Universal universe that they're gonna wrap into their Avengers thing?
I don't know.
I mean,
How many? Who else?
maybe.
You can't make a Victor. Or, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's got that it's got a quality about it. I don't know, as Mark put it, a
It
quality
looks like a
that I don't
comedy
know.
a little bit like those Sherlock Holmes movies in a way.
Yeah, which I'm kind of okay with.
Yeah.
I'm okay that they're not going like Bat Tornado, like look at this broody hero. They're like, oh,
Talk shit
Daniel
about the
Radcliffe
Bat
is.
Tornado. I fucking love that tornado.
Hey,
Yeah, I mean,
to-
I
to
think
each
if
his
it
own.
is actually, if it does actually end up being funny, I think that's a good direction to go. Because if you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have like a weird PG-13 thing, at least make it kind of funny and entertaining. I don't know. I mean, it's like with all these movies, we're inevitably gonna go see it. So I have to find something to be excited about, or just say I'm gonna kind of ignore it, and then it's gonna happen to me.
Yeah.
I expected Daniel Radcliffe because they made all this big stink about him being Igor when they started making this. So I expected him to look more Igor-y. He just looks like a dude. With,
Nah, he's like
bad
No
cool.
look back.
He's cool hippie Gore. He's like bro Gore.
Yeah. Brogor.
Brogor. Brogor the Barbarian.
Some
This is the
leather
Igor
bracelets
origin
on.
story. Like he hurts his back and then messes his face up.
Would
and
you
then-
say that it's the Igor origin story?
Nope. No, I would
No?
not. No.
Yeah.
No.
Had you guys heard of this? I hadn't even heard of this until
I mean,
Cece
like I
put
heard it
in
was floating
Slack.
around.
Yeah. Cece knows everything.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And a quick check here. Drink check. Andy, what are you drinking over there?
Oh, well, to channel my inner Joe, I am drinking something that vaguely pairs with this film, and that would be Colette, a farmhouse ale.
Ah.
Oh.
Farmhouse.
Yes, yes.
Well played, sir.
Nailed
Nice.
it.
Golf clap.
Incubus.
I am drinking Hop Mana Hebrew from Schmaltz Brewery from
Nice.
Clifton Park, New York.
Yeah,
It's delicious.
around the way.
Yeah.
I got water in my Tervis tumbler. That's right.
Tervis.
By the way, if
I
you
know, are
watch
you the
Giant
only
Coke.
Tervis tumbler this week?
if you watched last week's video show, you know that I had a I love Tervis tumbler gif in the video for almost the whole time.
So, yeah.
Or just said I love
If you're not
Tervis
watching
actually.
this live, you're missing out because we've got
Yeah.
Tervis ads that we don't get paid for,
Yeah.
son.
You guys are Schnars was on point. No one sent me a single Tervis picture since we've been in here, so I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. All right, guys, that's it, I guess, for the intro. We're here to talk about Sinister 2, so let's take a quick break and do just that.
I was never a very good practical joker.
So do you have any regrets?
Garfield, maybe?
Hey, this is Brian O'Halloran. You might know me from such films as Clerks, Clerks 2, Brutal Massacre. You're listening to BloodyGoodHorror.com.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time, bitch. Main feature.
And we're back. I didn't actually warn anybody ahead of time about synopsizing, but Sophie, how would you feel about it?
Ooh.
I'll do my best.
Okay.
I reviewed it. I should know what the
You
movie's
should.
about.
You're right.
So I was confused by the trailer. I was worried it was going to be a prequel, but this is a true sequel. They take Deputy So-and-so from the first movie, and he has been fired from his job as a police officer in Pennsylvania, and so now he is trying to follow the chain of Baghoul murders and save families, and he goes to one last house, which he believes is vacant, and finds a family living there. And the rest of the movie is him kind of trying to save this family before it's too late. I don't know how spoilery you want me to get.
I mean, I gotta tell you, that puts Schnars' synopsis game to shame. That was like quick and efficient. Usually he's like, well, so there's this guy named Jerry, right? And he's like got brown hair.
Crap, our show's gonna come in like 20 minutes short.
He drives
Did you know the deputy is actually credited as Deputy So-and-so? I went to look up his name for the review, but he doesn't have a name.
And in the credits for this one, it's ex-deputy so-and-so.
Well, so
Yeah,
that may have
kinda
been
right.
how he was credited in the original movie, because I'm pretty positive it's the same actor, right?
Yeah, same actor.
I also think, correct me if I'm wrong here, someone can maybe do some IMDb foo, but I believe he played the Deputy Dewey character in the spoof, the like one of the Scary Movie spoofs or something.
Interesting. I know him from The Wire. He's in the second season of The Wire. He's quite good in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in Treme too. David Simon must like him a lot.
Wait, he's in The Wire? Who does he play in The Wire?
He plays Ziggy in the second season. He's kind of like the fuck up son.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
You are correct.
Mind blown.
That is crazy.
He's also in an upcoming movie called Tangerine that looks quite good. I'm pretty psyched for that.
He's really good in The Wire.
That he is.
Like, good in that you just hate him. You're just
Yes,
like,
well-
I mean, you feel bad for him too, but you kind of hate him too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he kills a duck. And that's not very nice.
Whoa,
true.
no spoilers.
No.
Look,
Whoops.
you don't get to claim Wire spoilers. Sorry.
I know it's too
Yeah.
long now.
My favorite part in like season 1 of The Wire is when they explain to the audience what text messages are. It's pretty amazing. All right, guys. Casey.
Yes.
Sinister 2. I think it's safe to say none of us were super excited about this. So why don't you walk me through kind of just your expectations for this, And how you felt going in? When did you see it? Did you go like Friday night or?
No, I went Saturday afternoon. I took the Eric shift and went at like 12. So, which is very early for me. But my theater was fairly empty, so that was a little bit different. Going into this, I really enjoyed the first one. I thought there were some great, like, disturbing scenes in the first one and whatnot. So, this one, I'd seen the trailer a couple times. I didn't see it until late, but when I saw the trailer, I was not very excited. The trailer I thought was fairly lackluster.
The trailer for this, I think we can talk about it, but is like criminally undersells what this movie has going on for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was also worried because I thought it criminally undersold it, and I was also worried that it was going to, be one of those cases like The Visit where they're going to show us all the scary parts up front. Yeah. So I was worried about that. Other than that, I didn't pay any attention to it, so I didn't even know like Shannyn Sossamon was in this.
Right.
When I
remember
got in
her?
there and everything. Yeah,
early 2000s.
She was also in. Well, she was just.
Purdue.
She was in Wandering Pines with Matt Dillon, so she was good in that. That's a recent.
Oh, the Fox show.
Thing. Yeah.
Huh. Wayward Pines.
But yeah, I kind of expected this not be very good because of the trailer, and I got out of it. And while I didn't love it, I didn't hate it. I was fairly entertained. I thought there were some good scary parts in it. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good overall for the most part. It was a passable horror flick.
Right. Andy, how about you, buddy?
Hey, so I actually was super excited for this. The director, I'm probably not going to say his name correctly, but it's like Kieran Foe, and he directed this film called Citadel that was released in 2012, and it's actually like number 2 on my list for best of horror films of that year. It's kind of the story of this guy that's got agoraphobia, and he's living in a kind of Irish housing project. And there's also creepy kid-like characters in that one too. And that was like a really underappreciated movie, I think. And I really, really enjoyed what he was able to accomplish with like very little.
So you think was this kind of a case of like an indie guy kind of getting his Hollywood shot a little bit? Like here's this thing that we know is going to be successful anyway, so...
Yeah, no, I definitely think that that's what was going on. I mean, like Blumhouse is just like money hand over fist at the moment.
They're
so yeah, it's like basically like most films you see at a multiplex, with the exception of something like It Follows that was like Radius TWC, which is a Weinstein company. Pretty much any horror movie is almost Blumhouse.
I'm just waiting for the crossover with Baghoul and Peach Fuzz. I think that could.
So it's gonna be what, Baghoul, Peach Fuzz, and Lin Shaye.
Yeah.
And Brock Lesnar in there for a wild card.
I'm pretty sure Andy's gonna wake one of us up doing the Peach Fuzz dance at Horror on Weekend. So I'm
God, don't even give him that idea.
I mean, why do you think I made a review of that movie? You know,
he's already got the bottom half of the werewolf mask down. So,
so anyway, I was really excited about Sinister 2. The first time I was ever excited for a Hollywood sequel in a long time. And yeah, I mean, like I was lukewarm on the first one. I thought it was good, but there wasn't anything about it other than the director coming on board that made me super pumped about it. But yeah, I'm kind of on the same page as Casey, though. There's some stuff in here that I thought was really interesting, and I like some of the chances that they took. But for the most part, the pacing's really off, and Baghoul's almost barely a tertiary character in this, so I don't quite understand what they're going for. So I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at.
He's good at walking in slow motion.
Yeah,
looking
and
crazy.
They show so much of him. He's like so visible throughout the entire movie.
It might be too much. I think it might be too much. Sophie.
I'm more on the same page as Casey. I thought the trailer was so terrible, and as the only person in this podcast except Eric who had to see both Insidious 3 and The Gallows, I was really not excited for Sinister 2.
The Gallows is my current Apollo 18. I just want like a terrible movie that I like in my head think I enjoyed, and then in a year from now I'm gonna watch it and be like, what am I doing with my life?
That's gonna be the piece of cinema you're gonna die on this year.
Right.
I'm kind of
I've picked my cinematic hill for 2015.
Right. I'm kind of glad I saw them, if only because I think they made me appreciate the things this movie did well more.
Oh yeah.
Than I would have otherwise. I agree. I mean, I echo what everyone else has been saying. There were definitely some weird choices made. The tension, the slow burn kind of tension from the first movie was definitely not in this movie at all. And they relied a lot more heavily on jump scares, which was disappointing. But I thought that where a lot of these kind of sequels just try to do the most cookie cutter thing possible, I liked that this one tried to do the children's perspective. So we got to see the flip side of the same
It
situation.
literally is Baghoul School.
Which I
It
liked.
literally is like showing you how
Yeah.
Baghoul takes the kids to school to make them Baghoul.
Yeah, so I don't know if we needed that, but I think that they did enough that was interesting that I didn't hate it.
Well, that's part of what sets this apart, right? From like a lot of the supernatural bullshit is that because he's got the control over the kids in this way, it adds this really creepy real world aspect to it, and also because they're kids, it's just kind of it's taboo to begin with because it's kids doing the killing or whatever.
Well, it's actually. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, I was gonna say like that's a really good way of putting it because in these movies there's always that stake of like, you know, death or like losing your soul or whatever arbitrary thing that is foisted upon like what a ghost can do to you. And this is very like a literal like examination of how that process happens. And I thought that that was another interesting thing that the movie did.
Yeah, I mean it's a little unclear because like towards the end, if he gets mad, he can just do whatever he wants. But,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they
Doesn't
kind of
have Baghoul,
scrapped the
you know?
idea from the first movie that he lives in the images and
Right.
it seemed like he couldn't come out of them. And then
He
in
does
this one,
live in MacBook
he was
Airs.
just in the world all the time in this movie, which didn't really
Yeah, he
make
just
any
lives in your
sense.
house. He's
Yeah.
just
Yeah, he's just there.
he's your roommate.
He is Thunderbolt compatible, so he can just get right into your laptop.
Sure.
Mark,
Yeah.
take me to Baghoul School.
All right.
I'm
So
gonna
the
keep
first,
saying it.
I loved the first Sinister. I thought that it had a lot of really cool things going for it. It was wrapped up pretty neatly. I think we all sort of thought that it was, it was a great sort of one-off. And then they announced a sequel, and we were all just kind of like, fuck. It was the same thing. What was The Last Exorcism, right? It had a similar sort of like, why would you make another one of these? That said, in the build-up to this, I was like, okay, they're gonna make Baghoul this ridiculous character, and they're kind of just gonna have the first movie on steroids.
Mark, hold on one second. Hold on one second. We'll keep going here. I accidentally deleted the video from the feed here.
Oh, cool.
Stand by.
Do you want- All right. Oh, so you did.
Actually, you know what? I think audio-wise, that's still fine. Continue.
It's really creepy. You can just see the picture of me and the picture of Baghoul holding a little girl in the feed. Just so you know. Anyways, while we're working this out, do you want me to keep going on
Continue.
my thoughts here?
Continue.
All right. So, I was expecting kind of balls to the wall or Baghoul to the wall for this second movie. And there's a couple of things it does well and a couple of things it doesn't do well. The things that I loved are things that are actually kind of carryovers from the first one. I think the music in this is great. I also think that kind of like crazy snuff film aspect of this is so interesting. Like it's the only thing that truly sets it apart from all of these other movies we're watching. And they do a little bit in this movie to explain kind of where that comes from, but they don't do enough to like really own that aspect of it. I think Baghoul in this movie is like a cardboard cutout that they just pop into the frame every now and then to get a cheap jump scare, as opposed to being, something that they can really run with lore-wise. That being said, like of all of the movies of this type that I've had to watch, I hated this maybe the least. Like it's pretty fun. I think there's some positive aspects to it. Do I think that I really needed to see this? Probably not. But as far as, in the life that I live, that I have to go see all these movies, this one wasn't
This is
that
the
bad.
life that we live. You're right. Yeah, I know.
You've
This
chosen
movie,
this.
this movie really surprised me. I mean, obviously, anybody listening recently knows how rabidly angry these supernatural movies have been making me. I really did like the original Sinister. I thought that I thought it was nice that when they brought the I don't know if that professor assistant dude was in the first movie. I know there was like
wasn't.
another professor. All right, but I like that they brought back Ethan Hawke's
You're like
dad
the
sweaters.
new guy in this new movie, right? Yeah, that's me.
Like he had the same dad sweater on that Ethan Hawke had on in that movie, so it was pretty good. I wonder if it came in the box and he's like, "Oh, check this sweater out, guys."
Continuity, Eric. That's
But
called continuity.
I had zero expectations for this. I actually had, I guess, negative expectations because the trailers were just so bad. But I really liked it. Like Mark was saying, or whoever's saying, Shannyn Sossamon, like randomly out of nowhere, who is a pretty decent actress you just don't see a ton. I guess maybe she's come back, guys. Shannyn Sossamon. back. But
He does have a very weird Southern accent in this show.
Yes,
or this
actually,
movie.
the world's worst Southern accent.
you know,
I think.
they surprised me by actually having a pretty good kind of jumping off point for a sequel, which is this cop who was integral to the first film. Kind of, he's still obsessed and he's been fired, and so now he's trying to travel the country and burn all these vacant houses down to get rid of Baghoul. I don't really remember the logic from the first movie. It had something to do with an old camera and some shit in the house. I don't know. But apparently, like, if the family leaves the house, that's when they die. Science, basically, according, you know. But it makes sense. And the most surprising thing to me, and I thought the most effective thing in this film, is there's this whole plot line about Shannyn Sossamon and her abusive ex-husband. They're running away from the kids. Basically, when he goes and finds his house, he's ready to burn it down, and he finds out that they're basically squatting in it. And that's how they kind of come into each other's lives. And it's right next to a church where a bunch of Baghoul murders happened, because Baghoul. So, in the meantime, Baghoul's getting ready to take the kids to Baghoul School, and he's all like, no, don't leave the house, because you don't want to go to Baghoul School. But I found it like oddly or just surprisingly emotionally resonant, this whole story. And there are, you watch these movies and I think at some point you don't expect high drama to be in the script. And at some point I had this moment where I was thinking, I'm actually involved in their story. It's almost as if I'm watching a real movie right now. Because best case scenario, I think you go into these usually thinking it's going to be a good amusement ride and you'll get some good jump scares, but I don't think you really ever expect an actual emotional storyline. You know what I mean? And I think having her in it, and I think this guy is pretty good, helps elevate it where maybe with lesser actors could have not come off as well. I was generally okay with the kid actors too, even though they both had super dumb haircuts that I hated.
Oh my god, main ghost kid, I just couldn't.
No, not even them, just the two sons. Like I feel like the older brother casting call was like, smarmy prick must have awful hair, But I really liked it. I thought, I don't know, it was good.
Yeah.
I wonder how Eric and I would do if Baghoul was courting us both.
I think we all know I'd be the easier one to turn.
The easier one, the more suggestible one.
Yeah. Like, whoa! I haven't even asked you to kill your family yet. Relax. Dude. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
That would be it.
I love my
Baghoul
family.
would show up and Eric could be like, "No, I'm not doing the supernatural shit anymore. We're not doing it."
Listen,
I've seen this movie before.
Yeah.
But I agree with you that, and I didn't mention this, but I agree with you that kind of like abusive father storyline was actually pretty interesting. I wonder if
kind of scary in its own right in a lot of scenes.
Well, they maybe could have shaved like 15 or 20 minutes off. It feels like that whole thing when they like move back into his house happens too late in the movie. Like that, I feel like they could have built it up for like maybe 20 minutes and then that happens and the whole thing kind of takes place in that house. I think that it takes so long to get there that they maybe could have shaved a little bit of it off, and that may have helped with the pacing a little bit.
I didn't so much see that just because of what we see happen and what we see play out after that scene. It gave it kind of a weird twist, the big climax for the way things played out. So I think that scene helped lead into that one.
Yeah, and also I just was so surprised by how well it was done that I was just kind of going with it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like, this is to like kind of contextualize it a little bit, essentially what the premise is with the two kids is that ghost kids are essentially visiting one of them and like making him watch the snuff films.
By the way,
that's
Mark,
how
kids in old-timey clothes.
Kids in old-timey
as we discussed last week.
My favorite.
I've got something in my front pocket for you.
I will say at least the one girl ghost didn't have long, dark, stringy hair. She had like a snow cap on.
Right,
so
she wasn't wearing like a 1920s nightgown. She was wearing like, I don't know.
Now, this is a little spoilery, but I need a clarification. Wasn't that girl with the snow cap the girl from the first movie?
I was just going to ask, were any of these kids from the first movie? Because it would have made sense narratively to bring them back. But I don't remember what the fuck happened in the first movie. So.
If you believe that,
if you read the continuity,
I don't think so.
If you read Ashley from the first movie is listed on IMDb for both movies, and she is a young redhead, so I got to assume that's her.
Thanks to
Yeah,
Mark,
I mean, like,
Wasn't her video the girl in the snow cap? Wasn't her video the one that was Christmas time, which is not how.
Yeah, that was the weird thing too, because that wasn't how the movie.
That's
ended.
not how
I was
the Oswald family
very
died.
surprised that they did not do more with. I thought for sure there was going to be a callback to the first movie, that film from the first movie. I don't know why there really wasn't.
Yeah.
Because that was such a like important part of the
Ethan Hawke is making The Purge 3 right now, so he couldn't return your calls. I'm
So
sorry.
why wouldn't they
God,
just?
No, but he
show-
was dead. I mean, spoiler alert, doesn't he die at the end of the first movie?
Yeah, but I'm saying
Yeah,
they
their
make
whole
a
family
film.
dies.
There's
Right.
a film of
Right.
that.
Well, that's what I'm
And
saying.
you never see it.
I didn't know if I just was seeing it and I didn't realize, or if I was seeing the kids at least, I guess. But it's interesting. So
They can do that shit with After Effects now. They can make that movie without Ethan Hawke.
other than the
He's
control,
actually credited for Sinister too.
is he really?
That's
Yeah.
weird.
Other than the control over the kids, the other
That's
thing
like-
that makes this interesting is the found film aspect of it, and they lean really hard into it, where basically the whole movie is like Baghoul School Film Festival, where the kids that are haunting the young kids living in the house that are trying to convince the one to kill his family, they each have their own movie, and every night they drag him downstairs and they're like, "Do you want the nightmares to stop? If you wanted to, here, watch my creepy movie." And
You
then
too
This
can
one
get
is
your
mine.
media degree from the University of Phoenix with Professor Baghoul.
it really made me laugh though, because I don't remember this from the first movie, but each film had its own accompanying creepy like record that they play with it.
Yeah,
which
there was
makes-
not a phonograph in the first movie.
Which makes no sense because it's not sound from what's happening. It's just like Baghoul has arranged creepy like mood music to play during this video.
But I
That's
love
their
is
that.
creepy.
It's so stupid
works.
and so awesome.
No,
Well,
totally.
because this time they leaned really heavily on the kids had to film it because they have to make some kind of icon. So then you can
Right.
just decide that they picked the music because it was part of their art project for Baghoul School.
I
It's the
figured-
macaroni
Yeah.
necklace
Yeah.
for Baghoul.
That's all
painting.
Professor Baghoul told him was, here's your inspiration. Here's this creepy music. I want you to come
He's
up
all
with a
set.
piece of art that does it.
And did you guys notice that the music towards the end that plays when Deputy So-and-so goes to rescue them is the same music that played in the first movie? That weird, like, skipping sound with the thumping music? No? Okay.
Yeah.
It was in the first one, too. It was
Yeah.
cool.
Also,
I mean,
to
I will
add-
say-
to point out, when Sophie says Deputy So-and-so, that's the actual name of the character in this
Right.
film.
Yeah.
It's credited as
Yeah.
Deputy So-and-so, which is interesting.
I will say I was a little. I mean, the films are creepy, but the films in the original were much. They had more jump scariness in them, I guess, or I just found them more unsettling.
That
Like,
fucking that alligator thing made me jump.
yeah, this movie becomes
Yeah.
Saw though. At some point, those movies. At some point, it kind of stops being creepy and just starts getting weirdly tortury. Like they're fun little side things in this movie, but I didn't find them quite as effective as the first time. I mean,
Sure. And
also
that's
they've
like,
already done it, so they're just throwing everything at you at this point. They're like,
Right. Well,
"This
that
is my
first
favorite
movie-
one," and then the next scene they're like, "No, this is my favorite one."
Right. Well, like that's the other thing about the conceit that sets up why he has to watch these films that isn't necessarily very interesting or isn't handled very well, because at a certain point they start bringing up the fact that in order for Baghoul to take these kids to school, there has to be some kind of artistic piece that is either image, sound, or
Like a
whatever.
tribute.
Right,
their
exactly.
audition.
And so in that sense, it's kind of referential into arguments about, violence in video games, violence and sex in movies, things of that nature. And I think that gesture towards that idea is interesting, but unfortunately it's kind of regressively handled in the sense that in this film, violence in movies is directly responsible for causing these kids to become violent. And so it's not, I don't know. I mean, like I have my own personal doubts about that.
You did it, Andy. You just Andy-fied Sinister 2. You just took us to Baghoul School.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I don't know. Like, there's something about that logic that doesn't sit well with me, and it seems pretty boring at times. So that's one reason why I didn't necessarily connect with or was shocked by the films that they were showing one of the twins, because it just felt like, oh yeah, we're trying to prove that commentators on whatever news network are right. Movies are bad for kids.
I took it more as
Also,
Baghoul's bad for kids.
Yeah,
Don't
Baghoul's also
let your kids
pretentious as
talk to
fuck.
creepy guys with greasy hair and weird masks.
Yeah, don't let your kids talk to anyone that looks like they came from a 90s goth band.
You see a lot of Baghoul in this movie. I don't know if we mentioned that yet.
Yeah.
Too much
lot.
Baghoul.
Yeah.
Way too
Way
much.
They turned him into Slender Man.
A little bit. I mean, he kind of is Slender Man, right? Isn't that Slender Man's deal?
Yeah.
Like giving
In
an
a way.
offering or whatever.
Yeah.
At least, I mean, those kids literally did that. And then we had to explain to Schnars who Slender Man was.
You know what's fun? Like the more we talk about this Baghoul School thing, as annoying as it is to say that over and over again,
That's what it's about.
it is kind of funny because one aspect of this, right, is that all of the films are shot with this like same old film camera. So I just like get this really funny image in my head of Baghoul being like super pretentious about the fact that these movies have to be on film and have to be shot.
Right, yeah.
Way.
He's such a hipster.
Like someone tried to turn in
Yeah.
a cell phone video one time and he's like, I'm going to kill your fucking family. Like, it's
Well,
Sorry,
and
bro.
also-
Where is your Insta filter even? Come on.
Mild spoiler alert. When shit gets real towards the end, like Deputy So and So just knocks the camera out of the kid's hand, and the kid's all of a sudden just doesn't know what to do. Like if he's not filming it, then it can't happen, which was a little silly.
Right.
Yeah.
well, but I
Uh,
mean,
by the way, that-
Well, you can't show up later and say, this one is mine.
I mean,
This is
it's
my
silly. It's silly because they kind of bring up this aspect of there has to be something recorded and there has to be an offering, but they don't. That's not what the whole movie's about. So maybe that moment would
It's
have
more
had
just something they kind of had to explain as opposed to something that's super
right.
integral
And
to the
so
plot.
maybe that moment has more power because like let's face it, lots of horror movies are solved by like saying the right thing or, you know, throwing some random thing that doesn't matter in the fire. And that's
Or, like,
okay.
right.
But you have to kind of earn it by setting that up more.
I did like the
And it
creepy
was-
ham radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, okay. So
So it had like a Pee Wee Herman like quality to it when it like turned on.
like it was like anthropomorphic.
Meters
So
were, yeah.
here is one of my. This was a movie sin. This movie made, and similar to the first film.
movie sense.
Crazy info dump at the end of the second act where he gets contacted by the professor from the first film. Basically, the guy when the person in the first film they find out he went missing. I can't remember if that happened in the first movie or not. But then
didn't.
this guy got sent all of his stuff, and he finds all the Baghoul stuff, and he calls him. He calls him there. It's also like a convenient plot device to get him to leave the farmhouse, so he leaves the family alone. So he goes, who knows, wherever this professor is, and they're talking, and he goes, "Have you heard of ham radio?" And the guy's like, "Yes." And he goes, "Okay, cool then. You know about the Schlinderman incident in 1978?" And he's like, "No." I'm like, "How?" Just because I know ham radio, I know about this fucking random obscure thing you're telling me about. It was
Eric,
the
do you know about
weirdest
MP3s?
exchange. It was the
Well,
weirdest
if you were
exchange.
serious about ham radio, you would.
And it wasn't even a thing that happened in America. It was like it's not ham radio is not the internet.
And also, I know Mark already referenced this, but I laughed out loud when Deputy So-and-so answered his phone and said, "Oh, are you the new Professor Jonas?" Because obviously Vincent D'Onofrio was not coming back for this movie.
There's
so
definitely
they were just like, quick handoff, and
oh,
it's done.
Vincent D'Onofrio was in that.
He was the
Yeah,
professor in the first
completely.
movie.
There's definitely a
This
lot
guy
of
was
forgot about
fine.
it. till
There's
you
a lot of
mentioned it.
nods. There's a lot of like little dialogue nods to how because this character in the first movie was kind of comedic relief for most of it. If you remember that he was kind of obsessed with Ethan Hawke as an author, and so went out of his way to help him and was becoming annoying. Do you remember that? So and
The
there's
professor or the deputy?
the deputy. That was the whole thing. Is he loved the guy's books and he just really
I
wanted
really
to help.
like your books.
And yeah, he was kind of mouth breathing and lurking around. And they kind of make. I thought they were nodding to that a little bit. And almost the beginning when he's talking to the priest because he keeps telling the priest that they were really good friends in a really weird way. And then there was silence, and he's just like,
By the way, least patient priest ever. This guy's like stumbling on confessing, and he's like, "Would you shut the fuck up while I open this thing?
I
We
can
just
tell
talk
you,
about this."
I can tell you anything, right? And then you can't tell anybody. It's like a lawyer, and the priest just goes, yeah, but don't tell me stuff I don't want to know, bro. I'm
That was
busy.
it was such a clunky setup too, because that scene only exists so that way you can tell the viewer who this person is and why they're still pursuing this goal. I mean, which I guess is like, yeah, fair enough, but like, why set it in a confessional, which is bar none the most overused exposition device like in cinema? I don't know. But I mean, like,
So
I really like that actor a lot. I mean, I think his charisma and the chemistry he has with Shannyn Sossamon is really good, and that carries a lot of this
I do
movie.
think
Could
like,
you say
I actually really
Sossamon
like
again?
Is
I
it
like that.
Sossamon? I don't know how to say
Yeah, no,
it.
it is. You just said it's super like saucily.
Sossamon.
Sossamon.
Saucy.
Sossamon?
But I agree. I mean, I think that her character, the two kids, and Deputy So-and-so make a pretty good movie together. Although Shannyn Sossamon's on again, off again Southern accent is fucking terrible. I don't know why you would ever direct her to do that if she wasn't like going to go whole hog on it. But I think that
I didn't notice.
It's weird. Well, you didn't notice because like sometimes it's happening.
I hold up Keanu Reeves in The Devil's Advocate as the greatest, worst disappearing Southern accent of all time. So if you're not that bad, it doesn't even register for me.
Well, she doesn't have it at the beginning, and then like a scene later, she has a Southern accent. It's like, what the fuck?
Listen, I thought she was really good though.
My kids.
I think the way she's emotionally conveying what that character's going through carries a lot of this movie. Honestly,
I think she's great. Her accent sucks, but her acting was.
I thought it was delightful.
I watched the entire season of Wayward Pines when she was on there, and like Eric said, she hasn't been on a lot for a while. She's kind of disappeared there for a bit. I watched her in Wayward Pines, and then when I saw her in here, it was kind of cool because it shows she's got a lot of range. Mm-hmm. It's quite a different character.
Yeah, I mean,
I think she'd be good. She's perfect for a role like this. I think
it's interesting. I've never really seen her play a mom. You know, she started coming around in the late 90s, early 2000s. I seem to remember her when I think back from Rules of Attraction. She kind of plays a side part in that, but she's in it. And that movie about Josh Hartnett's Blue Balls. What was that movie called? 40 Days and 40 Nights.
Is that what it's called?
It's actually called Josh Hartnett's Blue Balls. But
Josh Hartnett's Blue Balls, got it.
It's like he pledges to not have sex for 40 days or something, and then she is trying to get him to have sex.
I've seen that movie. I know what you're talking about.
So this isn't Penny Dreadful, right?
What else was she in though? I mean, anybody remember her from anything else?
She was in something called Wrist Cutters. It was like a black comedy from like the early or like mid 2000s.
So she kind of seen that?
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like kind of dropped off the map a little bit lately. She's in a lot of television right now, though.
Yeah, she was in this really nerdy vampire show that I watched for one season one time.
What was that? Do you remember what that was called?
It was called Moonlight. It had that guy from that's now on Hawaii Five-0. It wasn't very good.
Sonny Corleone's son. I don't know why I can't think of names tonight. Scott Conn. Scott Conn.
I always remember from Party Knight's Tale.
Yes. Yes. Yes, Shannyn Sossamon was in movies, guys. She's really good. And I think
really good
I think her and that dude, Deputy So-and-so, carry this thing. I mean, this all around for me is just a surprise story. I think a lot of people are probably tuning into this waiting for me to eviscerate this, and I just don't have it in me. We've seen a lot of much worse crap this year, and I actually think in some ways it holds up to the original Sinister, which is a good movie. No, you don't think so, Mark? I've heard some other people saying that. I don't think it's as good as the original. No, but I don't think it gets very super eclipsed by it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, no,
I mean it's not. It is not.
They'd make a good movie marathon.
They make decent sense together in the school of sequels that are slightly less good than the originals. You know,
Well, I mean, like another thing about this one that keeps it more interesting is not only its handling of, the performances of the actors and actresses in it, but then there's this, as we mentioned earlier, there's the mirror narrative of the abusive father and his influence on the sons, along with Baghoul's influence on the sons.
Humans are the real evil.
So yeah, I mean, like it has post-apocalyptic fiction has been doing that kind of story for a long time, probably for about like 10 years, if not longer now, in a more like mainstream narrative. But in particular, like seeing it in a ghost story, I thought was kind of cool. And I give them props for trying it. Yeah. It's not very well like handled. Like at a certain point, you're like, I don't know if they know how to end this or if they know what they're trying to say about it.
I thought that angle of it. Well, I guess it's wrapped up a little. I don't think we want to get super spoilery, but it is wrapped up a little conveniently. It kind of just ends up being a device for your own narrative, like revenge fantasies, I guess, in the end. Sure. But to me, of all the Baghouliness of the movie, the thing that sticks with me the most is the scene where you don't realize the husband's abusive at first. They actually do a nice job of kind of trickling that information out over the course of the second act. But there's a scene where the husband shows up to the house with cops who he clearly kind of has in his back pocket. And the one son immediately like pees himself. And it's just like this really raw scene where, you know, you're here to see Baghoul School, and then there's just really real shit happening, and it was.
Oh yeah.
I just was kind of, wow, that's.
Yeah, there's these really shitty jump scares
They
earlier
went
in the
there.
movie. Yeah, there's the really shitty jump scares earlier in the movie, and then all of a sudden, then there's this real world drama that's like so impactful on this kid's development that he's in such shock he can't even handle it.
The whole dinner scene with the dad was like jarring too.
Oh yeah, that was terrifying.
So I want to.
Also,
Fun fact: I used to feed Mark like that when I was a kid. Just mash food into his face. Why
but
won't you
props to
eat?
the movie for having him be an abusive dad, but not making that be like an over-the-top, overly dramatic thing. Like
Totally.
the one
Yeah,
scene where we
totally.
see him be abusive is terrifying, but it's not what you would expect from a movie of this. I don't
And
know.
you see how
It
at
was
some
not
They're
point,
swinging.
at some
they're
point,
swinging for the fences. Yeah.
yeah, and at some
Yeah.
point, you see like she just. There's only so much running she can do at some point, and she just kind of not gives up, but does the only thing she sees that she can do and still keep her kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
They do
a
a
question
con-
for you guys.
Go ahead.
Oh no, Casey, go ahead.
No, well, I was just going to say they did a great job using that subplot because there was the other point earlier where the younger son, after we see him going to film school in the middle of the night, and then when things are starting to unravel, he says something about "you didn't protect me from Dad." It's
Yeah,
like
that was rough.
damn.
Damn,
Yeah.
son, you
Yeah.
went
Or,
there. Yeah.
Um,
Well, I'll tell you one
What?
thing about that dinner scene. Emmett Otter would have been really happy with it.
Oh my god, thank you for shoving these mashed potatoes in my face.
Some people
I haven't
don't
had
get
mashed potatoes in
at
so
all.
long.
One of the things I want to talk about, and this is going to be a little tough to talk about without spoiling too much, but
I
I
mean,
think one thing that happened in the first movie and the second movie is that they skip to the staging of the film really quickly, and I almost wonder, is that on purpose? Do you guys think that like they sort of skip the logistics of how these kids get the family in these kind of compromising situations?
Yeah.
It was
Do
subtle.
you mean you
It
want to
was
see
subtle.
the gappers?
It was subtle, but did you pick it up though? Every single time before the cut, they were all drinking something.
But then I have a plot hole question about this movie.
There's no plot holes in Baghoul School.
There is a little. This is a little bit spoilery though.
He's a ghost.
Should we just spoil it? Like, who's gonna? Can we talk about this?
I
Yeah,
guess.
because I had a serious question about it.
Spoiler alert for peoples that are listening.
Okay.
Spoiler alert.
To Mark's question, since Baghoul and the dead kids originally go after the younger son, and then they tell him that they didn't want him all along, they were just using him to make the older boy jealous. At that point, the younger brother knows everything. So why is he touching anything the older brother gives him, and why is he not?
That was
why doesn't he do
interesting,
anything?
but you also could argue that he didn't need to knock him out because he can just overpower him.
Yeah, because
it almost looked to me like he didn't drink it.
Right, but then why wouldn't he like knock over his mom's by accident or something? I don't know. That bothered me because
Yeah.
it seemed like they didn't show it so that they wouldn't have to explain how the little brother wouldn't do anything to try to stop it.
Right. Up until that point, I did really like though. It was super subtle. The cuts, like it was probably the second or third one where I'm like, they're always at a picnic about to drink something, and then it cuts and it's like, Baghoul's here.
Yeah,
Sophie's point, I would argue
the first one with Ethan Hawke has his drink, and then there's a little sign that says "Good night, Daddy" from the daughter, and then he passes out.
I mean, not for nothing too.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no way that these kids in these films could have gotten their parents in these physical situations, even if they were knocked out. So at some point, Baghoul must be assisting. It's the only
especially
way.
with the kid with the kitchen full of water and his parents hanging from the electrical.
They definitely set the precedence for this, that the ghosts can kind of just interact with everything. Like when they're doing all of the scenes in the basement, the ghost kids are opening the door to the basement. Like they don't even really bother with setting up rules for how this shit works. They just are like, yeah, these ghosts can fuck with everything. Of course they can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of like,
that's
Holy shit! Somebody say something.
Which is like completely understandable, and I'm kind of okay with because it's a fucking ghost. It's like, yeah, you're
know
in a
what?
horror movie; it can do whatever it wants.
Listen, there's only one plot hole that bothers me in this movie, and that is how was that rat still covered in blood like 20 years after the murders?
Oh my god.
The rat. He gets scared by a rat, and the rat's fucking
'Cause he
covered
was
in
stuck-
blood, and you don't know
He was
why.
stuck in that bowl.
And then, right, the whole time. And then
You
in
know
the next
what's,
scene, you see why, and you're like, how is that fucking rat still covered in blood?
Dude, whoever came up with the kill in the church should be arrested, because
You've never
that
heard
is
of that
like,
before?
That's in 1984.
No, that's like a
that's
medieval.
an old medieval torture.
Oh my
thing.
god, that's so fucked.
Mark, wrap your noggin around this. That shit's happened for real to people in history.
That is fucked.
Yeah, it's horrible.
So for people who didn't see the movie, they do the old trap the rat on someone's stomach. The old rat trap. They call it mouse trap, I think.
He's tried to do that to me.
And then they put hot coals on top of the metal pot so that they have to eat through the people because they're going to die otherwise. It's pretty smart.
The old rat people eater, yeah.
The old
How did I not know that was
rusty
a thing?
mouse trap.
Is that good that I didn't know that was a thing?
You know what else is really common?
Mark, because you just
Hanging
have a
people
soft,
over,
gentle, cuddly soul. You just don't know these things.
Yeah, why wouldn't you just like cuddle the rat? I don't get it.
Right.
It was on Game of Thrones or something recently, I feel like. No?
Maybe you're right.
Wago Day chairs?
I'm only familiar with the Princess Bride school of torture where you just push a lever up and someone screams for no reason.
Yeah.
Water runs down.
Where
and
you hook them up to a steampunk machine and then death.
And
Yeah,
it's
just
like
sucks
suction.
their life out.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of hickeys all over
Years
you.
of time. Yeah. Death hickeys.
And then you eat chocolate and you come back to life.
Yeah, I don't, why? I'm still trying to wrap my head around why, like, Baghoul's not scary anymore, right?
No, I mean, not in this
They definitely
movie.
show him
Yeah,
too
not
much in this movie. I mean, there are some effective jump scares involving him in the film. You know what I mean? But yeah, he's any like mystifying aspect of him is now gone. And I didn't want them to make a sequel here. They did it. They pulled it off. I'm now afraid they're going to make another one, and I don't see where you could go with it really. At this point, you have to be just making like Insidious 3ing it at some point, just making up something and totally new and bringing.
So what if it's Lin Shaye and Vin Diesel fighting Baghoul?
Fast and Furtherer.
I mean,
the Further.
It's true.
We laugh now about Lin Shaye crossing over with Sinister, but if they really wanted to do, what would stop them? These movies are all so fucking the same.
Yeah.
You could do it.
Same production company.
Yeah.
See, Baghoul lost its effectiveness for me when all of a sudden, like you said, they're showing him more, and it looks like he shops at Men's Warehouse.
Casey, I saw when I was looking for pictures before the show some good stuff of suburban people with their kids dressed up as Baghoul and Baghoul students. So I think that you might want to consider that for this Halloween.
Maybe.
It'd be a pretty good jump around the corner scare thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, this is another thing. We've been talking a lot about how we're kind of qualifying the movie or how, it's actually better than what we thought it was going to be. But the pacing in this is, like, super off. Like, it basically opens with a sequence that's supposed to be very scary of Baghoul being in a closet. And it's, like, it's edited so quickly that there's no sense of suspense.
I kind of like the way that was shot, actually. I liked the void in the closet and the kind of, like, there was clearly a spotlight in the closet.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, look at this hanger right
wow, that
here.
closet's super well lit.
But it seemed like each shot of that is like 4 seconds, it seems. And then it's like, okay, you should be scared because Baghoul's creepy looking. And there's not a lot of it that made a lot of sense to me. Like there are scares that are rushed to get jump scares. And then there's, long scenes of people talking about nothing at all. And it's a little irritating at times.
That's a pretty good description of Sinister 2 in general. A little spooky and a little irritating at times.
Yes.
I don't know. Would you be interested in seeing another one of these? Anybody?
I don't want to see a prequel.
I'm mostly just hoping it does well because I have it listed 6 times in my movie box office fantasy league this week. So...
if I was Joe, I would say, are you guys still doing that? And I kind of feel the same way.
It's awesome. It's so much fun. I love it.
It's so fun, but it's like the world's shittiest website. And it's we've been doing it for a long time. Like all summer we've been
doing it. It's shitty. It's called Fantasy Movie League if anyone wants to look it up. They do it in seasons, so you can maybe get into the next one. It is a shitty website, but now that I figured it out, I just enjoy doing it. Because they send you a reminder email, you just log on, you pick your movies, and you're done.
Yeah,
we should give a shout out to Spencer, who's just fucking killing us.
I know.
All of us.
I'm close to him, but he has been. I missed that 1 week when I was out of town.
Who's going to tell him that if he wins, he's kicked off the website?
You should get
Sophie, that's
on
that.
You. Oh, come on. You can't kick him off. Who's going to live tweet stuff with me if he's gone?
So I have a question. If Sophie, Evan, and Spencer and all the writers are now the new class, does that mean that I'm that season of Boy Meets World with Matthew Lawrence when they're in college?
Yes.
There was more than one season when they were in college, Andy.
There was 2 seasons, in fact. And
So
the
you
professor,
guys are Girl Meets World.
wait for it. Their professor in college that Kelly ends up dating, he is the preacher from The Last Exorcism.
You know a lot about that.
Who Kelly ends up dating?
At the very end of the series, there's one episode or something where she goes on a
Who
date
are
with
you
him.
talking about? There's nobody named Kelly in Boy Meets World.
Oh no, I'm talking about the college years of Saved by the Bell.
Okay.
I thought we were talking about Saved by the Bell, the new class.
Eric, you know what the fucked up part about that
There's
is?
also
I was
2
actually
seasons of
following
college.
you.
I know.
I assumed that's what you were thinking.
There is also 2 seasons of college in in Boy Meets World and Dawson's Creek, coincidentally, whatever that has to do with anything.
If Evan were here, he'd be really excited you're talking about Dawson's Creek.
No, him and I can talk offline about that.
I don't want to win.
All right, guys, that is the review of Sinister 2. Quickly, would you recommend this to somebody? And if so, would you recommend that they go to a theater to see it? Would you be so bold, Sophie?
Yeah, why not? I feel like if you're... I would recommend that you go see it in a theater where there is no one else around, because that's what happened when I saw it, and it was pretty good, all things considered. I mean, it was fun. It's a good summer horror movie.
Yeah.
So.
Andy?
Yes, I probably want to go to a theater to see it. You can watch it at home. It's interesting, and I'm curious to see what the director does next. Hopefully something not having to deal with a franchise.
Mark?
If you are not totally sick of these kinds of movies, you can do worse than going to see this. I would not run to the theater to see it, but if you're looking for something kind of fun, this is fine.
Casey?
Yeah, I think it's a good matinee movie.
I'll be honest, I think this makes a better fall horror movie. You know, I'd rather see Green Inferno in the summer and then see... Because this has some spooky atmosphere to it that I think I would appreciate more around Halloween time, you know?
You can't go wrong with shots of cornfields.
Yeah, I was gonna say we can't.
So much corn.
I can't believe we made it this far. That in the very beginning of the movie, we see her license plates from Indiana, and then the whole film takes place in the middle of a cornfield, and Eric didn't say shit.
I did not notice the license plate. I don't know. I'm unfamiliar with Indiana license plates.
Yeah, for some reason, there's a really deliberate close-up on it. I have no idea why.
Yeah, and then because I thought my first thought at the beginning of this movie, it has nothing to do with the overall movie, but I thought, oh, cool, it takes place in Indiana, and then they show Deputy So and So figuring out where they're at, and he's in the middle of Illinois.
Yeah, they popped up that map quick, and I
map.
was trying to figure it out, but it's real quick. Yeah.
And apparently, it was filmed entirely in Central Illinois and a little bit in Chicago. Fun fact.
Nice.
Interesting.
All right, guys, that's gonna do it for Sinister 2. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Backup! I need backup!
A rookie cop facing unspeakable evil.
There's something really wrong here. These things aren't dying. I just blasted this thing, and it's still alive.
One of the most anticipated games of 1998, Resident Evil 2. If the suspense doesn't kill you, something else will.
Everyone's gonna die.
Hi, this is Adrienne Barbeau, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
And we are back. Probably don't need that spoiler alert graphic anymore, do we, Mark? It's pretty fun.
I mean,
though,
you
right?
can leave it up.
We need to make a BGH specific one. I was thinking about it, but I think
I like how you say we, like anyone other than me is going to be the one to
Well, you know you're the graphic designer of Bloody Good Horror, so get your shit together.
I think it should just be Andy naked, and the spoiler alert can be covering his junk.
Don't encourage him.
Spoiler alert,
Sophie, we're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We're going to be friends.
You should Photoshop spoiler alert into Andy's beard.
All right, guys. info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. First up, Mark, we got some tweets about my favorite subject, RSS feeds.
Oh, great.
People love them and live them.
I don't believe.
Brian from North Carolina said, RSS feeds are awesome. I'm glad yours is back up. I'll have to subscribe. I'll send a screenshot later. He never did.
One.
Help
Yeah,
me
you
out,
never
though,
did.
buddy.
Okay, so that we don't even count that.
Oh, but also, if you go back to last week, you never gave a time limit on this, so I have for eternity to get 10 people to tell me they use RSS feeds.
I'm amending a time limit they had right before we recorded this episode.
No, you can't do that.
Are you
Here,
sure?
Mark,
No.
I'm
You
sending
can't
you a,
retcon the timeline.
Right.
Mark, I'm sending you a screenshot of my RSS feeds right now.
Nice. All right, so there's
I think Mark
there's
came
one.
'cause he
Brian is
controls
one.
Andy, there's a
RSS.
100% chance that's just a picture of your balls. And
Brian
not a
is one.
screenshot.
Andy is two. Also RJ and C. We'll count them. There's three.
What the fuck?
All right, guys. Next up, this is from Adam from Canada.
This is hardly a groundswell, by the way.
Canada.
Shut your whore mouth. This is Adam from Canada. Hey, gang. I love your show, and it gets me through boring days at work pushing papers and charging people with offenses. I don't know what that means. I did take issue with the end of the gift. Oh, that's right. This is one I can't read because he just totally spoils the end of the gift. And then he says, anyway, thank you guys for the amazing hours of entertainment.
That's great.
But he's unimpressed with the ending of the gift. I can't read it, though. This next one's a tweet, RJ and C. I have an RSS feed app on my Apple Watch, clearly still on modern tech. He really is challenging me here because I have issue with anyone with an Apple Watch, but he legit does have one, and he did take a picture of his RSS.
Yeah. RGNC, because I dipped into the Apple world earlier this year and bought an iPad. He asked me at least once a week if I've bought an Apple Watch yet.
Yeah.
And then
I work
also,
with some people with Apple Watches.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you also work with someone that has a Google Glass?
You know what? I used to, and all he ever talked about was how he had Google Glass, and then I imagine that dude is just in a gutter somewhere because they don't really support it.
The
He's
Apple
just,
Watch is like a thing
waiting
that
for someone to like it or use it.
People touting the Apple Watch is a really good way to know like what people around you that pretend they're into tech actually don't know shit. Because I always just stop these people and I'm like, dude, how many people do you know with an Apple Watch? Seriously. Okay, how many do you know that aren't assholes? Bam.
Also, fun fact, if you have wrist tattoos, then the heart rate monitor doesn't work.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah, because it uses LED sensors, and the ink on your tattoo can mess up the sensors.
Huh. Do you have a
And
wrist
we are
tattoo?
living in
I
the
do.
Matrix.
I don't have an Apple Watch,
Oh.
and that didn't stop me, but I do have a wrist tattoo.
Oh, can we see it?
Yeah, it's not that exciting. It's just a little.
That's super exciting.
Yeah.
Love it.
Eric's very excited.
All right, New Jersey Nick. I laughed out loud at the Building 7 pamphlet joke that no one else understood. Yeah. Really?
That's
No
it?
one? Building 7? Andy knows what Building 7 is. Come on.
I only know because I listened to the show
Wow.
earlier today.
What kind of like... Okay, I'm not getting into it.
Building 7 was the art building at my
Never
college.
forget. Okay. New Jersey Nick, also my fan of the week, because he said, you have really good insight sometimes that people dismiss. People our age, 30-somethings, are not the base horror market. That's in reference to somebody's question last week about us being the base horror market, which we're not.
Yeah,
We're
I
definitely
mean, like,
not.
well, now, like, we're the market of people that make Your Next and The Guest and stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah. But, those movies are not the ones getting wide theatrical releases.
We are the
No.
cabin in the woods market for sure.
We are the
And
cabin in the
even
woods
if they are, that stuff's not getting greenlit unless somebody in a suit somewhere can make the argument that some teenagers will still go and see it. You know
Sure,
what I
which
mean?
is why It Follows is such an interesting movie because that was not going to get the release it got.
Sure.
So that's I don't know.
I think a
That's-
lot of normies went and saw that and were super pissed off too. So
Andy,
yeah,
do you want to
sure.
tell Andy, do you want to tell everyone about your super awesome music purchase that you made this week?
Oh, what was that? Oh yeah. So I was at a record store and I like the first fucking thing when I walk in is the Dwight Tweely band album from Your Next just like sitting like right in front. I was like, yep, sold. bought it.
that one.
And that one. And it's great condition. It's only like $4 too. It's like,
I don't remember what it was. It was something like that.
I think you're singing Video Image.
I love that. I love that fucking song so much. It's a good. It's actually a good song.
I watched.
It is so fun to blare so loud.
I watched Your Next with my wife. We've actually seen it twice now. Like she loved it,
Mm-hmm.
but was not ready for how brutal it was. Like she's thinking she's in for some kind of slasher and shit gets real really fast.
You know, the more I think about it, the more I think we called it like Home Alone if it was a horror movie, and it's kind of
Sure.
it stands up like that.
Yeah.
Accurate.
Yeah, but no, I just think that horror fans sometimes tend to overinflate our impact on the economics of horror movies. I think that there are way less of us than people think there are. When I say us, I mean the people who are in the shit. If you listen to multiple horror podcasts a week, you are not part of a group that is large enough to make a very significant impact on a theatrical horror film. I just don't think you are.
Just like for every person that's boycotting a Nightmare on Elm Street remake, there is 100 people that don't give a fuck and they're going.
Or right? when people say like try to shame horror fans, oh, if you don't go see this movie, you're an asshole. You got to support horror. I'm just not convinced that if we all went to see it, it would really matter that much at the box office. You know what I mean? When that stuff comes out. It's like a confirmation bias thing. We live in these horror fan silos, and so we think we're the only people watching horror movies. It's just not true.
I mean, the cream rises to the top, right? Like if there's a movie that's somewhat universal in its support, then that just kind of happens naturally. I think we all sort of like these movies.
Kind of like The Babadook as well. That's another good example of that.
Another movie that I've heard a lot of normies watch because it's got a really good rating on Netflix and just hated it. Although I didn't love it either, but I'm an asshole.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I'm an asshole.
What is Babadook School like?
I don't remember enough about that movie to make fun of it.
Lots of pop-up books.
All right.
I'm assuming it's like Harry Potter because she keeps him under the stairs.
Right. Craig Chaos with 2 Ks. The Gathering of the Juggalos versus the 4 fans at an Incubus reunion concert.
Ooh, interesting.
Will BGH... By the way, I never went back and listened to Incubus last week, but Joe totally did because he was tweeting about it.
You know, I heard Incubus randomly on the radio the other day, and I'm never not going to think of Joe when I hear of Incubus now.
Will BGH be holding any contests to win free shirts or a gift card from the t-shirt store? He's just making up contests we should do now.
Do they have gift cards?
I'll make a gift card.
Know what? We could probably get away with a t-shirt contest.
Yeah, sure.
I'll tell you what. I'll make a gift card out of crayons and send it to this person.
Did Nightmares take into consideration how many of the people they interviewed had problems with sleep because of their crippling meth addiction? #intervention. Craig Chaos. We've gotten a surprising lack of hate mail about our show last week. I kind of expected it. It is the summer. Maybe people are just busy. I don't know.
Or maybe people just don't care. I don't think we shit on it too hard. I don't know.
My favorite was the lady who tweeted us last week. How much did you want to just say, bruh, you're dreaming?
Yeah.
That pretty much succinctly summed up our hour-long review.
Yeah, you're just describing a bad dream.
Yeah. And you know what the bummer of that is, though? There's something worthwhile in discussing it and discussing the experiences and being creeped out by it. And I could have enjoyed that if it wasn't for the things the director was doing that just pissed me off. But whatever.
Right,
like I didn't want to demerit the whole concept. It's just you can't explain that. The tides.
The film doesn't do the concept justice because it like doesn't follow the people well enough, and it kind of picks people that you can kind of look at and be like, if you told me this guy was making this shit up, I would probably believe it. You know, like it just doesn't. It doesn't convince me, but I think the subject deserves serious discussion. I just don't think the movie prompted that serious discussion the way it
it's also like that inspires a conversation about what you expect out of a documentary, like how much factual material versus like quote unquote the ecstatic truth to throw out a word.
Like I'm a person who really, really super dislikes author voice in documentaries.
Sure.
I think it is a really horrible thing that my generation has done to documentaries. It's like, because a lot of us can't picture a story without ourselves in it. Like they can't picture being important to somebody without you putting yourself in it, I think.
Is that why Baghoul exists, you think?
A really good example is, it could be, Meta. You ever see Winnebago Man?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that is an amazing fucking story. There's Mark, you know Winnebago Man, right? You're on mute still.
No, I'm not.
Now you're not. It's a viral video of a guy who sold like Winnebagos in the 80s or something, and he made all these infomercial videos, and some guy saved all the outtakes and uploaded them to YouTube, and it's literally like 20 straight minutes of him screwing lines up and just cursing uncontrollably and getting so angry.
I have not seen this, and it sounds like my favorite
It was
thing.
one of the earliest viral YouTube things, and so this kid went and found him literally to shoot a documentary about it. Found him in half blind, living in a cabin in the woods with his dog alone in the middle of
Living in a
nowhere.
van down by
Had
the
no
river.
idea that this thing had gone viral. Probably barely knew like what the internet was, and there is the kernel of what could have been an incredible documentary, and instead I couldn't finish it because half of the movie is this kid puts himself in front of the camera and it's just him badgering this old guy who clearly doesn't want to be involved in it. And it just becomes really tragic to me, but not for the reasons the guy intended. I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying, Eddie? No, in no way is that as bad as what Nightmares is doing, but
Sure.
it's sort of what I'm talking about. The kind of insistence to put yourself in it and force a story where there might not be one. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I mean, it also depends on like if you find the individual who's putting their voice in there worthwhile. Like, is their voice offering anything to the story? Which probably not, I'm guessing.
Right, and that's the problem. Is I think some people just can't tell when that is. You know.
Yeah.
This is a great time to plug Documentary Now on IFC with Bill Hader and Fred Armisen. It is fucking hilarious and definitely worth your time. Yeah. If you ever want to see just like the different types of documentaries getting skewered in a really funny and super awkward way, it's awesome.
But yeah,
it's their first episode's very BGH friendly too.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Documentaries. I love them. And I watch a lot of them too, which is why I have thoughts when we review them.
I've never known you to have thoughts.
Never.
It's news to me.
I think we got more emails, guys.
What?
Holy shit.
Who's this from?
Okay.
This is from iPhone. Have you guys checked Exeter yet? A chick gets stabbed in the eyes with toothbrushes. Ha ha. Also, an updated
Jesus.
Lawnmower Man scene like from Dead Alive. Lawnmower scene, not Lawnmower Man scene. Along with a bunch of other ridiculous shit. There's no real name here. Has anybody heard of Exeter?
Yeah, I've been seeing it kicking around on the Twitters, but I haven't really checked it out yet.
We'll have to put it
Unless he
on
means
the
the university.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like the same people that were pushing Starry Eyes, or like kind of like being all about how great Starry Eyes was. They are also the same folks that are pushing Exeter a little bit.
You know what? The more I look back on Starry Eyes, the more I kind of liked it.
I wrote a review over at bloodygoodhorror.com, and I was not a huge fan at the time, but it's definitely one of the films of this year that stuck with me more so than
what one's that
any
again?
others. Starry Eyes.
Yeah, it had moments. I thought it really came around in the end. I seem to remember.
Yeah.
Like I didn't love a lot of the middle parts of it. Sophie, have you seen Starry Eyes?
Yeah, I was
Were
I
you
on
on
the
that show?
podcast for that? I think I was.
Maybe.
I think I wouldn't have watched it otherwise, so I think I saw it.
Yeah, I do have this subconscious thing that I'm sure some of you do too, where I know that I'm going to have to pick a top 10 at the end of the year. So I end up liking movies more because I'm like, yeah, this could probably be number 9, you know, even if I don't remember it.
I don't think
well.
the Starry Eyes is going to end up in mine, but I'll have to see where we are at.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
This could. I think Sinister 2 could, like at the top by like the bottom half, I think.
Speaking of things deserving of hate mail, it might
Or like filmmakers being tapped by studios to do like another film.
Well,
for them.
and actually, so Sinister 2 in that way is a really good story because it doesn't always work. Sometimes it ends up being an awful experience. The movie flops, and that person they kind of get shat out the other side of Hollywood. But I don't know how good this is going to do. I saw it at 9:45 this morning on a Sunday, and for maybe the second time ever in the history of the show, I was actually the only one. There wasn't even one other rando creeper behind me breathing in my ear or anything, which kind of made it creepier to be sitting in a theater by myself. I at one point thought that maybe I was being taken to Baghoul School and I didn't know it.
Yeah, it's currently estimated
Surprise,
to get
Baghoul
about
School.
10 million this weekend and opening like on the number 3rd spot.
That's it, 10
third
million.
spot.
See, for a movie like this, interesting. For a movie like this, you want it to make at least 20. If it makes 30, everyone craps their pants about it.
Yeah, because the original made 48 on a $3 million budget,
which shocked everybody. So
yeah,
I'll
so I
never
have no
forget
idea
the
if
original because I was living in Boston, and at the time I had a hookup for like press screenings, and so I saw that next to one of the critics for the Boston Globe. And the movie's starting, and he spent the first 20 minutes before the movie started talking shit about how he hates horror movies and they're not scary. And he pulls out his little pretentious notebook, and the movie starts, and he's taking notes. And by halfway through, he almost jumped in my lap at some point in the movie. Like, the notebook was gone. He was jumping in his chair, and just like a little baby. It was hilarious.
Do any of us still take notes, by the way? Is that a thing?
No. I did today write down. I did.
Yeah, me and Andy, we got it.
I haven't in years.
Shit, those are that's like a lot of notes.
I have a notebook for BGH, guys.
Oh my god,
that's awesome. I haven't taken notes in years. I did today though on my phone write down trailer names to talk about because that's the one thing I never forget or I never remember is trailers. Right. And I was the only one in the theater, so who gives a shit if I'm writing in my phone?
Take notes is a necessity because you're 80 years old and you know you're gonna forget if you don't remember.
Oh man,
I'm the same way. I'm making fun of you. I'm projecting because I do the exact same.
Well, trailers they're just there and they're gone, and it's hard to remember after you watch a 90-minute movie. You know what I mean?
We didn't talk about the Perfect Guy trailer, by the way. Did you guys get that one?
I didn't get a trailer for that, and I'm disappointed.
What's the Perfect
Wife in 7 seasons of that show?
7 seasons?
6 or 7.
Holy shit! Wow.
Yeah, it's a great show.
Yeah,
sure.
It was great. We for Sophistical Cinema we watched Straight Outta Compton, and so I went to that screening. Like everyone in the theater was super into the Perfect Guy trailer, so I'm pretty excited to watch it.
Cool.
Ooh. Good story.
Next up, Hayden. I think Hayden. I'm gonna guess. I know Eric has stated he doesn't want to review any more documentaries, but I have a feeling Lost Soul would be right up everyone's alley, and it is on Netflix. Anyone familiar with Lost Soul?
Nope.
Next up.
Sorry.
Mad for Muff. Guys, I shit you not, I used to suffer from sleep paralysis when I was a kid up until my 20s, and that's some of the scariest shit there is. Being unable to move with a terrifying feeling of a presence in the room. I saw something about it some years ago and did some reading up, and after that it seemed to die down. Haven't had it in years, thank God. I'll be checking out the documentary you talked about last week. Didn't you listen? I'm just kidding. If the Real Housewives set up a stall selling beer in Disney World, would that be Joe's idea of heaven? Joe's not here to answer. Probably.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he doesn't have to be here to answer that question.
Let's see.
I watched like a half an hour of that one of those shows recently. I can see what Joe likes about him. It's starting to scare me.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I just wanted to ask, what do you think is the best horror film set piece? For me, even though it's over 30 years old, the stomach mouth spider head in The Thing takes a lot to beat. Watch out for Jonas Goviart's intense little horror called Cub.
Oh yeah.
We had Cub in. So the last 2 shows were voted on by patrons, which is something at a certain level you get to do. And we give you the list that we're always working from, and you say, here's what you want. And Cub did not do well at all. People did not seem into it.
Which is
patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror if you feel like you want your voice to be heard and it's not being heard.
Which is it's kind of not surprising though, because it's a Casey, you did a review for it over at Bloody Good Horror, right?
Yes, I did.
And what country of origin is that?
I don't remember off the top of my head, unfortunately.
I think it might be Danish. So that's
Turkmenistan.
Turkmenistan. So that might be a reason why it didn't do very well in the poll. Probably not enough people have heard of it.
I don't think it has.
It's a little movie called Cub. You guys probably haven't heard of it.
It's from Belgium.
My beard's seen it 3 times though. So
I mean, like
it looks awesome.
There's so much in here.
Cub or Andy's beard?
Both and.
You guys, he wraps it up. You guys are on fire at the moment, but as always, keep up the good work. Mad for Muff. Info at bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. We're also on
Did
Twitter.
you know Alicia Keys is on this Skype right now?
Oh my God. It's we are also on Twitter at BG Horror with the hashtag AskBGH. Mark, take us away here.
First one, not a question, and he should know better. It's from our own Evan Sleed. He said, "That's all, folks," and posted the New York Post cover of Jared from Subway that says, "Enjoy a foot long in jail."
Enjoy a foot long in jail.
No.
Too soon.
Favorited by one person, John Schnars.
Yep, there's a little icon there. John Schnars, by the way, who's had literally the same Twitter profile picture since 2007 when Twitter started.
It's from fucking Futurama. I wish I could remember the name of the character, but yeah. I love it.
Schnars, that's how Schnars Twitters.
He's such a fucking nerd.
Like it's 2007, baby.
That's right. Next one is from Alan Murch. I'm very short on money and my boiler is broken. Do I pay to have it fixed and get hot water again, or become a BGH Patreon instead?
I think you know the answer to that, sir.
Why not both?
Yeah.
And why not Zoidberg?
Yeah.
Baghoul can always bring you water. He cannot bring you Bloody Good Horror.
Baghoul can bring you a finely tailored suit. Next one is from DC979. Are you ever going to do tweets about wide releases like back in the day? I missed the poop.
Oh man, why did we stop doing that? Because Mark's lazy. That's why.
You know, well, it's tough because like they all became.
Well,
I seriously
explain this. So we used to do is like when we reviewed a movie, like search, hashtag Sinister 2 or something, and just find the most ridiculous tweets of people leaving the theater. And it was the best. It spawned some of the best moments in BGH history, like Hooray for Sisters.
Yeah, Hooray for Sisters. I mean, maybe we could start doing it again. But I seriously, to go behind the curtain a little bit, I used to just search for the name of the movie and like poop, piss, shit, or whatever, because it was inevitably like something like I straight up pissed myself for these movies, and that's how it happened. We can start doing it again. And speaking of me being lazy and forgetting my duties, there is a movie guide for this movie, and I could read it now if you want me to.
Quickly.
Oh man.
All right, movieguide.org reviews movies for their objectionable content, so impressionable minds like us won't go see it in the theater and be totally corrupted. So Sinister 2 features a very strong occult worldview with some moral elements as a man tries to save a woman and her 2 children from a demonic spirit. Plus, Catholic priest tells a man to stay away from investigating an evil spirit, murdering families and taking children, claiming it will be too dangerous and impossible to defeat the spirit, but the man does not listen. Plus, movie shows scene of people in church taking communion, 21 obscenities, including some F words, 4 very strong profanities, 3 light profanities, and Scared Boy urinates in his pants when he sees his abusive father.
He does.
Some very scary violence includes some people burning to death on crosses, corpses lie in a pool of blood, ghost children sometimes have gray zombie faces, evil spirit turns boy to ash, rat eats through bodies, things jump out at people, ghost children hurl objects at people like a poltergeist.
Man smashes potatoes in children's face.
That's right. Children watch movies of previous murders. Man rams truck into boy trying to kill his family. Abusive father smashes mashed potatoes in his son's face, and wife screams at him. Children are murderers, etc. No sex scenes, but man kisses woman holding from her abusive husband. Angry boy beats up his brother. Brief alcohol use. Brief smoking. And abusive father. Parents fight over custody of 2 children. Bullying.
I can't believe the alligators did not make the movie guide.
By the way,
look, alligator eats the fuck out of a person.
By the way, we made no mention of the fact that Baghoul gives kids mutant strength because this kid gets run over by a car and gets up and literally just brushes his shirt off and keeps going.
Yeah.
So that might be another plot hole, but we can just move along.
Go on, brush your shoulder off.
That's right. Pick up the old-timey camera and finish your Baghoul School project.
It is his pimps too.
Yeah.
Next one is from Haikus of Horror. In which sequel will Baghoul upgrade to the iPhone?
Right. Yeah. Somebody was just showing me an app the other day that shoots video and makes it look like one of those old giant video cameras from the 1980s.
Catch us if you can.
Like with tracking and the date and time and so you can put 1982 on it. It's pretty sweet.
Baghoul has timeless taste in film. He doesn't upgrade. Normally I'd say I don't get it, but I totally get it. Great job. Last one is from New Jersey Nick. Brock versus Baghoul. It's obvious, but it must happen. Dude, fucking Brock. Duh.
Yeah, Baghoul won't want to get his suit messy.
Yeah.
I don't know, though. I don't know.
Yeah, but Baghoul has all those little kids.
I think Brock could pick up those kids and just throw them to the moon, straight up to the moon.
Snack on them.
Yeah.
Just him just swatting kids away,
Yeah, that's how he gets his strength.
What if they teamed up together, you guys? That'd be scary.
Yeah. What about Brock Lesnar in Baghoul's suit?
What if because Brock Lesnar is really a child at heart, Baghoul's able to take him over and make him a minion of Baghoul?
What if you get up in the middle of the night,
I just wrote
go to your basement, and Brock Lesnar's standing in your basement going, "This one is mine."
Also, we are
handing you a piece of film.
We're 20 minutes away from SummerSlam, where Brock Lesnar is going to face The Undertaker, which is about as close to Brock versus Baghoul as you're going to get.
That's awesome. Brock Lesnar hands you his film, and it's just that video of him on Raw ripping that car door off and hitting somebody in the audience with it.
That's right. That's right.
That was really my parents. I was pissed.
That's it on Twitter. That's all we got.
All right. Info at bloodygoodhorror.com or also on Twitter, ask BGH. And that's going to do it for Sinister 2. Check us out on Patreon. Actually, just go to bloodygoodhorror.com. There's a link to Patreon at the top. There's links to all of our social stuff. You should check out our Instagram. Mark's making that hell of sexy. We got BGH, the new class, cranking out reviews every day. Sophie, what do you got coming up next, review-wise?
Well, 8:30 tonight Eastern, we are tweeting.
Right. What movie?
So there's that.
You sound
the third
so
Hellraiser
excited.
movie.
Third
Hell
Hellraiser.
on Earth.
Oh, I thought that happened already.
Oh.
Every Sunday night. Wait, why'd she sound so sad? I just didn't know.
The review happened already. The tweets have not. But by the time you hear this, they will either be live tweeting or the post capping the live tweets will be on the website, bloodygoodhorror.com.
Do we have a hashtag we're using on Twitter?
Yes, hashtag tweet with BGH.
Hashtag Eric doesn't pay attention.
Hashtag the new class. Hashtag the college years. We're also going to be at Horror Hound Weekend. Check all that info, horrorhoundweekend.com. Some of the crew will be there on Friday nights, and then myself, Mark, and Joe will be rolling in like peons on Saturday. Hopefully, if I can get them up early in the morning before lunchtime. So
we will be there at Old Man O'Clock on Saturday.
Indianapolis,
Casey and
Indiana.
Cece will be there on Friday, question mark?
Yes. Me and CC
and myself
for sure.
as well.
And Andy.
I will also be there on Friday.
There you
Eric
go.
and Mark, we should caravan. I'm also driving from Chicago with Evan.
I'll let you guys talk about that offlines. The other thing going on is video. If you want to see video, if you become a patron at a certain level, you can watch live stream video as we record the show.
That level is $3 and up a month.
Is it patrons of all levels get early access to the video once it's archived? So you can watch it.
$3 and up gets access to the live video, and anyone that has donated to Patreon gets access to the video probably the next day we post the recorded video.
Yeah, and then eventually all these will end up on YouTube for at least a little bit of time, but it'll be, in the future, so that way patrons get early access. And as we mentioned earlier, they also are getting the occasional opportunities to vote on show topics. So that's just like even that, Mark, is just a small slice of what you get by becoming a Bloody Good Horror patron. So check it out, bloodygoodhorror.com. That's going to do it for our review of Sinister 2. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you next week.
Adios.
Take it easy.
Farewell.
Bye-bye.